Good evening. Nice to see you, nice to meet you. I think some new faces here. How's your day today?
Better now.
Cold? It's New York's very busy place. Even your mind is a little quiet, but the location makes me you're more busy. Even you walk, you have to go walk a little fast. I used to say when I come down here, I say my friends, and Boston is a much peaceful place for, than New York. New York makes people a little bit running. Anyway, very nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Then what do we have to talk today? Usually, I think that for Tibetan and Western a little bit different. Usually the Western people or scholars, they say some public documents, they make some, prepare. But we don't prepare, just whatever we thinking usually, or whatever we practice our thoughts, just talk to people. Also had to, something prepare, then talk that, then that doesn't go. That way, whole missing. Therefore, I don't have special prepared, but I would like to share my baby knowledge with you. Basically, I think today we have to talk about patience, right? Are you guys patient? Very patient person? No. What makes you impatient? If you have some idea, what makes you impatient? Do you know what is the main cost of patience? How is it? What makes you impatient? Is correct?
Yes. Impatient.
Impatient.
Yes.
Yeah. What makes we impatient? Yes.
My own self-centeredness.
On karo. Wow. Wow. Yeah. This is the root cause. Yes.
Driving in bad traffic.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you are late at the walk, a lot of traffic. Then we get just the Shantideva text. Tomorrow we go into this. Yimdeve senye. Kanji yimdeva ji. Semachu me bajungdo. Tate konro sayagi. Ta jitsu odres. Jitsu odata kaji mujino chagres. Idewu me marchi. Nawa tiwu me bano. Nawa me deva. Sim dewu me bachagdo. Wadate. ene konro sayagi jit res songdo was tende yenda tade ngazo rendu mu ngazo susu nyamnyo la tembe tangabo 다시 제고레스 ane te sanjiga 송샤다 게마타 땡무네 rendu de mendu 남지 장고는 미치 ngazo songdo was ane 추도 만데베 labja tan zamble la nyong ra sha se chudon de de wa yin be na ani chu ken la ngen da melenge mambo yi wan da chu ken melenge so la ya chi labja mara be so ro chi de ta ngan zo chu da mande be ani yarab sho sang gi tan labja de zamble la te si nyong ra sha ta te mambo che gi ta shi che go do so do wa se de ta sem chi na wa chi wo me ba te control sayagi ta jere la kundu was ta te ngune rendu de men nga su su samashi tangures.
So generally, when we talk about anger or any kind of unpeaceful or disturbances, we immediately come to our realization that there is a discomfort, uncomfortableness, there is some kind of uneasiness in our mind stream. And so that's, is one of the opposite of a patient. When we are patient, we tend to be peaceful, we tend to be more relaxed. In contradiction, when we run out of our patient, then it really kind of stirs our peace of mind. And as a result, we experience uncomfortable uneasiness in our mind stream. And this is not something that we have to believe what the Buddha taught us, because this is something we can really come to conclusion through our own experiences. His Holiness the Dalai Lama mentioned that for the religious practitioners, people who belong to different religious traditions, they have the advantage of receiving certain trainings and advices in terms of achieving the peaceful mind through their respective teachings. Then the problem with that is that people who do not follow any particular religious tradition, which is quite a large number of population, they tend to be left out of that kind of a privilege, so about training. Therefore, His Holiness has been really working on a valuable training for generating peaceful mind without attaching the religious angle, the side. And so he usually really teach the valuable kind of teachings, say practicing patient, without really emphasizing the religious side of it, so that more people will benefit out of that.
Now we have to, usually Buddha already taught for, but what kind of mind manifest is 21st century. It's 2,500 years ago, he already mentioned. Right? When you object, energy, then they come make it some kind of thing. Mila so kind of thing. They don't like kind of thing. Tangiman Sonshire was.
So in Buddhist teaching, which the Buddha taught in 2,500 years ago, but he was able to identify the problems of the 21st century. He was able to see what kind of troubles and sufferings the people in, say, 21st century would go through, including, emotional and a lot of other stressful, the mental experiences. And so through his teaching, we can overcome these challenges.
What is that? Nanzo Tanda and is Tan Nambega Sonshi Perlamgi. Rodan Jerva, they Tapetani, Tango Shinzonapa, Pentoche, Tapsho, they choose a much Nandu machine by a Pebakisha Marisrova. Then they take on the Pentoche, that Tapsho.
So we can, as a Buddhist, really contribute a meaningful contribution. We can make a meaningful contribution in developing a peaceful mind to all people, regardless of their religious background, because we do not need to bring our kind of the religious side of the teaching, but really still emphasizing the Buddhist logics, the Buddhist philosophical and the other traditions, really to deal with the issue of how we can overcome the troubles, the disturbances through a meaningful kind of Buddhist philosophy, we can do that without bringing the religious angle to it.
Right? Therefore, now we have to think about that symbolic karo, the symbolic me ba yung do was. That te kuro sa ge je chag do ya tang chang so samri tang da chi symbolic me ba. Tela tene ani ngado kuro sa yung shi. And tela tene ani kuro de yang su su ge chi jinse guba mambo je som da kuro de ya mar tang da ngado che do was.
So if you look at the general the problem, let's say the problem which is underlying the anger, isn't there some kind of dissatisfaction? There is some kind of a frustration. There's something beneath the anger, right? And we experience initially some kind of discomfort and unpleasant experience. And then that kind of lead to the anger. And then we use a lot of logics and reasonings to really trigger the anger and justify the anger as well. We really work hard to justify and to really increase the anger. And so if you look at these processes, do you see that? Do you see there is something underlying the anger?
Are you guys meditation anger develop?
And we are really cultivating anger through contemplating various meditational techniques.
Right? How we do meditation means, if example, now when I talk about, then you also think about this true or not, okay? If it's not true, you can just protest. Now example, if we get angry, if someone says something for you, or someone sends some text message for you, right? Usually our Asian country, basically they fight each other, they can fight physically. They hit each other. Then at West countries, they're not popular like that. They like text message, email. We don't see much, really you fighting to physically hand. Now, you get some message, someone, even your friends, doesn't matter. When you see the message, they makes you some unhappy, right? Something hurts your mind. The moment that time, then you make more, okay, he or she say like they made, because they doesn't like me. Then you can see also many different ways, because such days also he or she shows me some different action, and looks some funny looking. We looking develop more. Also we find more reasons he or she don't like us. Then we get more angry, more and more reasons. Then you immediately get back to, okay, if you like that person, I'm like that person. Like that? Are you guys like do this? Because you talk about more that you get more angry. This happen because we make more masala. Masala means India, spicy. You put your food more spicy, then more hot. Like that. It's therefore this shows that anger is not just happen without cause condition. Then we can do something. If anything is sad, happy, many things is we try to walk with them. It's possible to walk. Usually we don't try to stop. We just go whatever they want, whatever they say. Right? Now basically I'm thinking, if you have very strong compassion for all beings, then I think that blocked all our angry, hatred. 그래서 semchetra meme niji shu chimbo yoyina. Ani ta shambada niji shu chimbo yoyina. Ta tinga no control God kando kores. Tinga rang samudos.
In my opinion, if we have a very strong compassion toward a sentient being or the sentient beings, and then we wouldn't easily get angry at them. And so to me, it feels like when you generate a very strong compassion, that really overcomes or prevents us falling into anger at that particular individual or sentient beings.
Because the mothers give birth the baby at the moment. I think maybe not this country, they're very modern, maybe you don't get much pain, but still they pain. How much suffering at the moment. The moment the baby come out, the mother has feeling to very strong loving kindness. Even if she's very suffering, that she want to touch, she want to hold. Right? If rather poor the children than the mother Muzumita Nasa Sushimotayo was in a Kondo Sawa Pashane, Puma Chevado, Soson go to him at Tanda Pude Dapodia, and the chief Yasoyagi Tapshing doors. Take Karatangana. Kansa tell me be Shambada, Niji, Zewa, Shukaze, Chewa Samji, tell me be Magavis and the Jeremy what they thought. Thank
you. You might have observed this when a mother gives birth to a child, and before preceding that, child coming out, she has gone through a lot of sufferings. The immediate pain that she would go through at the time of giving birth, and proceeding to that, she, when the child is in her womb, that she really endures a lot of hardship, pain, suffering, and so on. But then, what most amazing thing happens is when she delivered, giving birth to the child, instead of anger and the frustrations and so on, she has the most amazing loving kindness toward that child, and she was so eager to see the child, regardless, despite of all the sufferings she gone through. She couldn't really hold herself back. She really shows this amazing loving kindness toward that child, right? We all see that, and this really shows that when we have a strong compassion or strong loving kindness toward an individual, regardless what they do, we would not get angry or hatred toward these people.
It's true? What do you think? How many moms here? Good. As moms have this experience. But maybe you're no mom. But we can feel, right? How you say, they have different, how you say. Anyway, therefore, this is no Buddha make, it's some religion make, this is nature. Tate sanjik social mar, tate ngu nesin ro imbar was. Karna kola kanza tela me shamba da niji tsewa shuchin boyna, tela tene control dan chando. Ten lot jeg me wate, ta ko ngu nesin ro was. Tate san siriba solte tajina ko tada pupje tawriste.
So this is basically what we're talking about here is not about religious faith or belief. We're talking about the matter of the fact, which is when we have a very strong loving kindness and in a compassion toward an individual, and it really overcomes all our kind of hatred or anger toward that person. And this is basically reality. And you don't need really a Buddha to figure this out. Also, I'm sure that the contemporary scientists, maybe if they do a proper experiment, they will come to the same conclusion that the strong compassion and the loving kindness toward that person really subdues our anger or potential frustration toward these people as well. So there's a relationship between these two things.
Therefore, now we try to, when Buddhism also explains, when always the mothers first. They always even, also father hardworking, but they always put the mother first. Sometimes father's a little jealous. I'm joking, but they shows them, I think the mother's love or kind with kids, very special, strong connection. Even you can see the baby, since baby born, they get cry, right? Sometimes they can feel to touch the mother's body. They keep quiet. They show the baby doesn't know who's his mother, but he or she feel the mother's loving kindness. I saw some, the widows with the signs, they're checking. The baby moved from the mother, they go cry. And they put the mother's chest, they quiet. They show that the mother's loving kindness is very strong, powerful, even they feel. Also another the reason, when the Tibetans, most Asian, the sense of a baby, takar pugma chewa na, amin numate, ta omate, kanji, nyonta la lochini chila da, ta pugla, ta tea yiwa na ores. Tela tene amada pugni parala ya, misega tan rewashi, ane patunyuka tsewa de ko trevendo was. Ta lumban dela na washa shabayna, ane amada pugni parala ya, chik tenriga tsewa de meo samala, mede kadi salon shiyon samala chik. 그러다 샘나 다섯씩 세우명에 디자는 거고 텐지 인바자 또 돈으로 따는 거죠 아메가 세바테 미세게 슈침부진 바데 먼저 전세성은 뭐지 좀 따와이나 먼저 복토도 왔어.
In the East, usually a mother would feed her baby with her milk at least a year. And it's common, maybe they go much longer in Asian tradition. The baby really lives on mother's milk for a number of years. And then in the West, sometimes we tend to see that kind of a tradition of mother feeding their own children is now being changed. And it's getting increasingly, the time is shorter. And sometimes, the baby purely lives on other substances, never gets the mother's milk. And therefore, I wonder there's a relationship between this kind of feeding tradition and the bond between the mother and the child. Maybe because when the mother feeds her baby with her own milk, to a certain extent, that's really develops this kind of a beautiful bond between the child and mother. And there is some kind of a special affection being generated between the two. On the other hand, when you do not have that experience, that may sometimes answer the question about why in the West, sometimes the relationship between the children and the parents tend to be much more average, much more kind of, say, unaffectionate, comparing maybe the relationship between the children and the parents in the East. I wonder sometimes this is something to do with the way, the feeding tradition at a very young age is so different.
텐데죠 정말로 안에 부디게 섬나야. 다 아미게 제와게 바샤에 보샤도요 말로 왔어. 대샤 마도도 정말로 부디지 코나게 까매고야 하는 선로 텐데게 바샤에샤. 대원서만 다야 쳔보 차네지. 정말로 부기라였다 무미게 지 바샤 세거나만도 된데 야보 샤메 바인자 랑슈고 직 강연도 뜻 중앙이나 강연도 좀 맞아봐. 좀 맞아봐라. 직 직선만 맞아봐 용 조준하고 공로사 조준하고 어떤 일이 오는 거 왔어. 때가서 냠냠라 때네 엔티나서 레레지나 상부시다. 아니 소소라 상로 지다. 아니 시당 고육을 내다나 직 상부 당했더니 이건 되었어.
So, with these feeding traditions, I feel personally that when the bond between the children and the mother is not so strong because she didn't have, really the time to feed the child, didn't able to create this really trust with the relationship, and this may have some kind of a relationship to the children's kind of influence or the impact, or the child's the later kind of psychological impact. I'm giving you an example. In the West, it seems the mother is pushing the child to become independent as soon as possible, and that means maybe reducing the time of feeding, and it seems like the child get the impression that his or her mother want them to grow up sooner. The mother want them to become independent as soon as possible. So her responsibility is over, and so that also has a relationship to the child's kind of growing up experience and the psychological impact. The child feels that he or her is pretty much on her own. That if there's any challenges, any problems that the child has to deal with, there's no kind of nowhere to go and securely get the support. And because of that, when the individuals meet challenges, and they easily become frustrated, they easily become upset, and later sometimes they also get easily disturbed emotionally because they feel the helplessness. They feel that they're alone to deal with this. And so when you are helpless, when you feel that you're alone there, so the stress is much bigger because you feel there's no one else you can share the burden, right? So you have a much stronger reaction to these challenges. So I suggest that you really relax and very carefully, without any biased or emotional stand. But if you really take back and look this situation very carefully, you may come to the same conclusion as well.
But I'm not saying you guys like that person, okay? Basically, 네 초도들의 공로사도 라고 말다서 시당. 지나서 때문에 자도 라고 말다. 시당이 되다 남래가 뒤름이 지만 노동들은 누워서.
I'm not, suggesting or implying in any ways that, we are here, just fall into this kind of a situation. I'm talking maybe the 21st century. The problems with the 21st century is that we have these enormous challenges. We feel that we are alone all the time.
Therefore, how do you say? I have to say something that I forgot. I'm getting old. 근데 다 된제기 지금 보고돼야 지쳐보자. 코로나 파마 차거나 코로나기 파마니 때 된제기 강에 싫어 쇠마다 봐야나. 근데 뿌긴 통살아야 지 파메 지 두바자다와로 남나 돈다. 뿌기 섬라야 뭐 랑슈고 고파차샤는 거래. 근데 뿌고돼 살롱야 뭐 정도면도 와. 단단한도 따와야나 통도 와. 바와 아마 지 가로다 강이 전부서 그나면도 아니 지 간제 단 두바자된 게 된적에서 그나면 주 참만도와 된적이 부고대야 고야 보면 장로건도 왔어. 대고 파매가 바자되는 마용되게 그랬어.
And so the problem sometimes really continues when parents who are grown up to really have to deal with the problems by themselves without any kind of a strong support. So they tend to be easily kind of upset, easily frustrated because they feel so vulnerable. And so when you have this generation, and when you especially have a couple grown up in this generation, and then they, have children, they have their own children, and so they have this psychological kind of, if you like, the pattern of easily getting angry, easily being frustrated, and so they constantly fight, and sometimes they do so in front of their children, in front of the youngsters. So this really gives the youngsters an kind of impression, the impact, or cultivate this kind of impact, because they see the parents constantly unhappy, and they're constantly fighting, and this really I want to have effect on the child's kind of psychological growth. When the child is growing in this kind of environment where you see the parents are easily upset, they're easily frustrated, and they're constantly quarreling and fighting each other. And so this definitely leaves the impression and negative impact on the child's growth. And so when the child is growing up, I'm sure it has some kind of a disadvantage or negative impact on them.
근데 저는 통수도 하고도 했나 파마 여러분이나 때 보기도 여러분이요. 파마 말아보지나 보기도 고 그래서 시와야 보시라면 명이 잘 온다 같아. 근데 저도 통도 했어. 내가 돈 내려고 하고 온다 왔어.
And sometimes I see the very close association between the parents' kind of habit and its impact on the children. So when you see the parents have a negative habit of, like a quarreling or easily expressing angers to others, and then it easily influences the child's kind of awareness as well. And so later, this leaves the impression in the minds of the children as well. And am I totally going off the track, or do you also see similar patterns between the relationship between the parents' habits and the children's? Can you see the correspondence?
근데 다 밤에 세워서 돼. 무슨 내가 친구에 막 들려야 되는 고기로 와서 밤에 그 바자시 밤에 그 말랍서 자동차로 와. 다 로조 제거 되랬다. 네, 말로조 지나네. 다 저와서 제가 답용도 그러고서.
And so we see from this kind of analysis, there's the parent behavior or habit or general kind of outlook is so important on the children's growth or healthy growth. And the parent's compassion and the loving kindness at the same time is so important toward the child's healthy growth as well. And because of that, now we can, comfortably say it's so important to really practice patience, because it not only have impact on ourselves, it has impact on others, including our child. So that gives us maybe a strong, cultivate us a strong reason why should we practice, patience.
그래서 다 지나서로 나 셋단기 디디 로종 땅건에 센도 오시라래 왔어. 아니 가상가 하루도 진도에 아니 근데 프로페서 라긴도 하루 유니버시티 나라야. 밀어야 즉 신신소 야제 그랬다 알아봐마도 소소소 선바 그 양보도 선바 지구와 고들라고요 말해서 라고도 왔어. 땡문이란도 당한도 잠블리야 유니버시티도 따와야나 즉 셋단기 즉 소소야 즉 가로 쇼진의 야보로 와다 즉 보발라고 그러 와. 쇼니 ngajar라고 놓지. 소소 제거랑 같이 덮고여서 즉 근데다 간지 신소 야제 신소 소 변조 시 변조 야제 당와가 즉 랍자 아니 된리가 로소 때와 마도 나셈 간지 야제 당거요 아니 로소 당도 되다 다 쇼베 랍람노 라가만도 와서 텔라테네 아니 샤쇼도 노쇼니 제바이나 추다사도 추마다데 제바이나 아니 추마다데 데미도 데스 선바 부수 도와놓으시 내 추다사데 데스 그 영화로 되는 용거열에서 근데 당근도 통고열에서 근데 대패 차로 오셔봐이나 양에 당가서 남백이 추대야 보래 가서 배와야 보는 게 라고 말했어 와 시당할 배와 시고야 되는 거 다들라게 매스 그래서야 아니 양안의 용해지기야 아니 하루라야 그시 송스러 아니 갈랍서나 야나라야 다 머리 납주너지더라 다 머리 만다봐 아니 다 로치래야 닥 패시 당이 아니 수마도 순용도 따와이다 아니 배와대 다 뉴주 자기 그래서 근데 가르에도 따지서 말라 아니 배외기 아니 밤에 gelaya chi nachu go labja shambada tsebada labja ya poje wanza tig pacha digi and re do se ta te sam jana na ya tene kabadene mamu tunde lab고 서레스 tene da 밤에 tseba wanza ngazu 지나서 배외기 바와 맞은 로 지금 나chu 계셔도 나chu 시기 말했어 저 짬로 가는 콘서 짬로 따서 샤식 말해 옛날지 샴바도 니제 메니 무르사 콘서 labja ya 보드 라데 wanza 나주 띵 서버 마시바 얘나야 되게 랍자 되게 슈드 펑드는 마운드 슈 팽거 서버 Did I talk too much? We forgot.
So a lot of you coming here received amazing modern education, and recently I visited Harvard University, and there I attended a lecture on like social development or community development, and how individuals can really work toward developing our community and society, this kind of really heavy discussion. And one thing that a lot of us attending at the lecture observed, that institutions such as Harvard University, there are a lot of programs geared at community development, economical development, scientific development. I mean, there's amazing programs there for kind of social development, but nothing on individual growth. There's no kind of trainings or programs geared at individual growth, individual kind of, development. And that's really missing there. Whereas if you look at across the spectrums, you have amazing financial development, amazing kind of trainings on financial investment and financial growth and so on. And you also bring, with these educations, you bring out mostly kind of amazing individuals who really full of themselves. They have this amazing capacity to generate a lot of incomes and so on. But there's nothing really. Even at that kind of prestigious university, you don't see a meaningful program for individual growth. So that's what I feel missing in the kind of contemporary education. And then if you compare between the East and the West in terms of individual growth, it seems like people who follow a certain religious faith have the some kind of advantage of receiving this training for individual growth, training for really how to cultivate, compassion and so on, which really help them to live betterly. And I'm not suggesting that Buddhism or the Buddhist education is better, or people who follow Buddhism is better than the non-Buddhists. I'm not really suggesting that at all. But there is this kind of discussions coming out, even from most kind of unlikely sources. For example, recently I attended a lecture by a Chinese speaker coming out of China. And that speaker was saying that in China there are over 56 nationalities, different nationalities and different ethnic backgrounds. And they did research looking at why people are using drugs, and what really kind of, what is the main underlying causes for people depending on the drug. And he reported that among the different nationalities, that the Tibetan is definitely one of the kind of so obvious nationalities which has a lesser drug problem than the other nationalities. Mainly he's referring to the Han or the Chinese ethnic backgrounds. And he went further to say why the Tibetans have a lesser problem with the drug is because they receive this constant comfort and advice and guidance from their parents, which is heavily influenced by Buddhist, like a culture, tradition, and so on. So I'm thinking, although the Tibetan parents, they're not that well educated in Buddhist training, and they barely can explain you what is a proper concept of taking refuge, and they, I'm sure they will not be able to go further than some very basic philosophical background. But at the kind of depth of their heart, they have this kind of very strong loving kindness or the compassion, almost like cultivated in their mind stream through their parents. This constant, like a heritage passing down from generation to generation in the area of practicing compassion or practicing loving kindness. And that education is passed down from parents to children, and maybe that has some kind of effect on the children's growth. So that's my just kind of curiosity.
What do you think? Is something that
can you see the relationship between compassion or developing, generating compassion, and your kind of outlook and these behaviors? For example, I'm sure you received a lot of trainings in economical development or in career development or in kind of social development. You received these kind of educations. But how many of you really received education in cultivating your own heart or loving kindness, or receiving education how to be happy, how to generate happiness in your mind stream? Have you ever received that through an educational institution?
And ngarazo kanga tig pacha de was ngarazo ti pugo da kanga tig pacha da ma ja sho yor bas ta tig ani ngazo sembala ya shide tre to me bate ta te sang ngazo shise na se ro mo yong do was pena kanji penjo dolan na nye de bana paje kambale te nye de nye chung de ne kanji da ta na ra shi jeng de yong do was te jab go de ko sembala ya de ba me tar was
그러니까 미에도 규칙무수.
지침들이 우도was 지침보 깨라침보 다니가로 돕침들이 우도was 된데다 돕다 년자다 벤조기 서로 내가 트랙 매바티 가도 되네 복도도 와.
A lot of you maybe have heard or received this kind of message from our parents or from the educational institutes that you should really work toward generating wealth. Once you really made enough wealth, then you will live comfortably and you will be happy. So there is this constant message: you have to create wealth so that you will be happy, and that message is constantly being thrown at us. But then if we look at the reality with that, is that a lot of the people who commit suicide, they either associated with huge wealth or with the popularity or fame, or they associated with this from what we consider as a kind of the happiness sources. You find that a lot of famous people commit suicide. You find the rich people who live on drugs or commit suicide and so on. And so when we really investigate this kind of a reality on the ground, then we find there is association actually between with the people who are kind of surrounded with wealth and fame and so on, and the stress that they go through. And can you see that as well?
다 단소 강강 단소라서 간지 신 실록은 된jen다. 아니 단단 간소 모르는 게 에듀케이션 되게 간소 다 셈나 대화. 제가 자체 도움 다 가죠. 제가 자타 맞대 도움에 받은 간소 다 세워 자고 그랬어. 다 teleci 참고 셴바지 거고요 받.
You also see through this analysis that the external wealth, the external if you like, the conditions such as the wealth, career, and so on, they do not directly correspond to our individual happiness. And it's really quite clear that the creation of wealth doesn't equally, equal with the happiness, and that there is that fact as well.
다 텐디다 다 간소 노래도 가르데 간소 가르미 찾았나 당간소 제와 닌지 아니 샘절라 샴바사 다 땡간소 간소라 다 티그 난거요 말다 될 때니 샘지 젤라 샴바 메반자 동아도 소소로 연결했어 샘지 젤라 메비 니제 메반자 동아도 알아서 수용 거랬어 샘지 젤라 메비 제와 메반자 알아서 데미피게 동아 강인 소송 저기 그랬어 로제나 제바 메발라 때니 동아도 소소 연결했나 다 전도 계좌들 로조노 코도 했어 그래서 제발라 니제 메발라 때니 동아도 소소 연결했나 다 가는데 와서 전도 되기도 했어.
And also now there's this interesting fact as well, that because we do not have enough compassion and loving kindness toward other sentient beings, when we do not have a sufficient compassion and loving kindness toward other sentient beings, as a result we suffer. Because we didn't have enough compassion and loving kindness toward other sentient beings, we get frustrated easily. We experience the suffering. Because we didn't have enough compassion and loving kindness toward other sentient beings, that we endure a lot of other troubles. If I said that, this sounds funny and totally weird.
Wouldn't
you think, because you didn't have enough compassion toward that person, that's where you're suffering now? If I said that, wouldn't you be quite shocked?
We will
then immediately thinking, why that I suffered because I didn't have a compassion toward the person? What is the relationship? People will constantly ask this question. Well, of course, this is the case. Because we didn't have enough compassion and loving kindness toward these people, as a result, we experience short temper, we experience frustration easily, and we endure frustration all the time because we didn't have enough compassion toward these people. Can you really make any sense out of this discussion, what I'm going through? Can you see the reason?
파밍은 부거들 루타야기 아니 제와들 라토 말했어. 간나 파말 제와 슈침 보여가자. 파미지 부글라 또 제와다 메고소도 말해. 가지 부기 코로라 들 나와나. 가지 파마 베트코나 지 딱가로 세바 마치 와서 그나면도 아니 지금 너무해서 그러면 가지 잠을 봐 소도 말서 그러나 아메질라 아마나 파와티질라 부를 제가 쇼치기 덥지 근데 인자 두 신상문다 심진 파줘발라 미비 제와다 샴바다 니지 여와나 가자 수수질이야 공도 많아야 저도 많아 아니 ngaja machi wala pengi ores tu chikora jamneona.
So this is a case actually when we have a very strong compassion and a loving kindness toward other sentient beings, it equals basically less frustration and anger that we experience, that we endure. We take a look at an example of a relationship between a loving mother and her child or children. Until at the age of 15 or 18, the mother would take care of the children, right? And so sometimes the child's behavior would really cross his or her mother. Sometimes the children make the parents really angry and upset. But because the mother's love toward the children is really unconditional and very committed, this minor kind of trouble wouldn't, make her upset that she will give up the relationship. Maybe, it will cause a little bit of, emotional problems. But underneath, because of her strong compassion or the love toward the children, it wouldn't really kind of shake her entire philosophy of the life and so on. It will still, she will still maintain that relationship. This is because she already cultivated a very strong loving compassion toward that children, and she had been building and training her mind in such a way that small kind of minor things wouldn't really entirely upset her.
What do you think? This happened? You guys experience? 그래서 제와 휴침부지 여와이나 텔라 제와 예사가 강사 텔라 maybe 공로까지 사기요 말 저도 사기요 말해서 대용도 했어 진짜.
Basically
강사 찔레미네.
I'm telling you, when you have a very strong compassion and a loving kindness toward one individual, when you have that really strong compassion and loving kindness toward that person, it really subsides your anger and frustration at them. It really protects you from falling into anger and frustration easily toward that person. Can you see that relationship?
다 두지 삼도당서마 당어서 투사조다나 콜랍서 소스나 소소 당장 안데 데레스 다 몰랍서 코로가서나 아니 그게 뭐라다면 갈아야 트래픽 뭐 보이나 대 코로 사용도 웃랍서 와서 다 땡가서 간지 사용도 다 상당으로스.
When we really investigate and examine through this kind of analysis, then we would really go back to the questions we had from the two participants here. One individual mentioned that angers come through our self-cherishing thought or self-cherishing mind. Another participant said that we sometimes get angry when we're stuck in the traffic.
대빠데 다와트로 소리 담보 가시 달라 시시 다근 대시 니라 차제베 조초차 다라마베 안돌라니 지간들는데 담보 가스 되네 녜스 텔라테니 차다마보이 제네 다직 동아마보냐 되게 셈제들라 니제세로라 텐지 썸되게 니제들란데 위에세로 소요스 오마주베나라.
As you remember, in the entrance to the middle way, Shantideva made this kind of conclusion, saying that initially we identify with ourselves, and then we identify with that self. Saying initially we identify I, then there's a my. Because of I, there's a my, and then this comes with a lot of attachment. And so on. And through that we experience a lot of suffering. And that's where we feel compassion toward all the sentient beings, because we're going through this kind of a turmoil through identifying ourselves with the self. And we experience a lot of suffering.
텐디가 단대 같은 용도 해줘서 담보 코너로 제와이나 yamna ngala ya pochima so yamna nge trobo tromo namre ya pochima tene ye jengdo jedade.
So when you analyze why you're getting angry, and do you feel it's initially something to do with either I or with my or something to do about yourself? Sometimes you feel angry because someone didn't treat you well, or sometimes you get angry because someone didn't treat my partner or my something well. So that's how initially we start the problem. Is that true for you?
다 도치 다 따와 대대네 다 단다 몰라야 돼 빼나 다들 빼러 와가지고 빼나 가서 지 점점 모다 되게 따다 말해봐다 야지 나도 배를 가서 흘러던 거 뭔가 사회나 단단 건데 말하나 가서 세킨지랑 가서 저도마다 땡생가도 효로운데 왔어 다들 간에지근데 스타가서 사람 당으로 왔어 가래서 와나 빼나 만중문에 지금 샘 자침부 슉침부 파초와 따르면 따로 그래서 뭐지배나 나도 못하다 모지고 말은 나도 강아 집어지지 않았어 나이나 된 코로사게 들어와 모든 저들 왜 같이 들다디 hingen다 가르쳐야 될 생각도 코로사게 됐을 때 못하나 다 뭐라 전부 저건까지 나와라 나도 강아 대용 그랬어 다 티가 가서 나도 코로사와 티가 못한 조건 넣어야다 아니 트래픽 매 팽도 있는데 가서 선부 땅도 땅도 됐어 그래서 땅와인까지 땅와인나 다때까지 팽이고 말아봤을 때 대사월은 소소 지우면 와서 저건 뭐 가서 티 내서 다 먹을 때네 나도 주로 그랬어 같이 콘도 사나 소소 지우면 내서 다 먹고 차니 근데 나세 나 조본도 그건도 그세 대가도 되게 부지져서 말하는데 파쇼로 그랬어.
And so our friend here was very honest, saying we get angry when we're stuck in traffic, or we feel frustrated when there's the traffic is so slow and not getting us to the places we wanted to be. And this is you're very honest. I also feel the same way when I'm stuck in the traffic. But I think what we failed to really understand here is that we usually do not think creatively. We do not think really meaningfully. One example, when we are stuck in the traffic, we feel angry, and we feel so frustrated, and as a result, we lose the peace of mind. We are so agitated, and there's no peace and joy in our heart at the time. And so that is actually, the worse than being stuck in the traffic. You're stuck within a lot of unpleasant feelings and so on. This is because initially we kind of also identify ourselves with this self, and I wanted to, get there. I wanted to do something, and that leads to all kind of, like a stage. Eventually, we're getting full of angry, and then now you didn't realize what really happened is that because of getting angry, you really totally destroyed your peace of mind. You really put yourself in a very unpleasant experience, emotionally speaking as well. And so if you really look back and think carefully, you start seeing how harmful, is the anger, how harmful it is to be angry, because it totally destroyed your mind stream, and that's really, really harmful to us.
semje sosol에 셴베 semje 대 콜로 somlo 마다마 소소 집어마다 somlo 마다마다 텔라테니 공토 차도 ngajet 쟁거래 근데 다 가서 다 데리게 가르고 제주 조 제거 조가나 콘도 사이 참말라 갑중도 콘도 매와 소도고 말세 대 다시 메스 바로 콘도 사츠베 갑라 콘도 마세베 녜라 남주 소소 렐레 요베 갑라야 콘도고 님고 삼당 그래서 아니 지금 섬지 젬바라 미베 샴바다 니지 공고래 데 간에도 공고서나 소소 젬바 섬지 간데지마다 차서 나라서 나지 대완도 동안 되면 징통이 봐 진로가는 로사를 강간 조벌레 고야 봐 찍봐임 봐 칼라로 사회는 방대나데 방대 강가 욕벌레고 찍자 근데 삼바타와이나 다 나주버려면 시단디 lum바들이야 미강을 파세 기준인데 야고시란데 와서 대내진 삼바타다 나도 지금 너대로 와 또 너라도 가는 노릇은 만두고 sem지 소소래 지행게 sem진서 다 뭐이나 지생간지 체크 마치 되더래스 근데 다 디콜 삼다나 아니 콘로 많이 왜하게 답시 되어래스
So one of the major, really the causes of this anger and the unpleasantness experience is we constantly so obsessed with ourselves. We're so absorbed, chasing after our interests. Really, we often ignore the interests of others, and that really the mindset has a direct relationship with our kind of angry and lacking the peacefulness. And also you have to notice that when the anger flashes, when the anger really controls our mind stream, you cannot control the anger. You're pretty much under the spell of anger. And it's extremely to control the anger when the anger is fully arises in your mind stream. And that's something you really have to take note of it. And because of that, what you have to do is normally, when you're not angry, when you're happy, when you're relaxed, and you have to start thinking about the disadvantage of getting angry. You're much more effective if you do that when you at peace. You have to start thinking that like myself, who really wanted to pursue after happiness. I wanted to, enjoy my life. I do not want to experience suffering. Like that, all other sentient beings also desire for happiness. They equally desire for joys, as much as I do. So first, you have to create that kind of understanding. That's a step first. And you also have to think that everyone, need to fulfill our need. I have to be there at a certain time. Likewise, that other person also have to be somewhere else, like myself. If you start thinking that way, it helps us to really control our anger in a very effective way. And then that's one thing. You really equally think everybody else really desires for happiness like myself. When you cultivate that mind stream, it helps us to overcome or be totally controlled by self-cherishing mind. Then you also realize that through this process that a lot of the anger, the frustrations that we endure are partly due to our kind of a habit of not taking care of other sentient beings. On the other hand, if we do take care of other sentient beings, and then also we become less self-centered. Because we become less self-centered, we don't as often as get frustrated.
The one time I want to study, I think you guys are very education person, like respect for others. You have to go somewhere in the line, maybe really long line, maybe 1 or 2 hours you have to line. But you guys doesn't through that kind of
You don't cut the line.
Right? For our tradition, special Tibetan tradition, they like to go cut through.
Everybody wanted to be at the same place at the same time.
The one time I was there in India, then His Holiness teaching, there are hundreds, thousands of monks to line. I don't want to go line too long, it's 2 hours to wait there. I just try to just first walking just around, just kind of that surneya. Came meno just surneya and anything one pa do is. And that the tangi yoro, tangi to surneya, see someday. And they cool my cheso, pay ngotasos. That they ngotaso, and they semper pay much watch on. That was the Sosu chair was. 근데 이제 나랑 냠노시나 근데 좋은 들어와. 나다 좋은 너무 냠도 같이 렌드 들어나 다다 저는 렌드나 그래야 녹도 와. 양 아주 근데 요 말세요. 즉 고대 오지네 탑시 그냥 레타지 뭐 제래서 다더니 같이 나라든지 생각 맞지 와도 미경 가서 못 사게 와대 나랑 제를 봐서 근데 냠냠 가요 나 제뉴스.
In the West, one thing really is great is that people have this habit of going through lines. Really, people stand in line, and nobody try to cut off line, and they go really peacefully and beautifully. That's really nice. But in the East, even among the Tibetans, that people really wanted to push and rush and squeeze, and they just wanted to cut the others. There's almost like a competition of getting there, who gets there first. So even during the teaching, during His Holiness the Dalai Lama's teaching, and you find that people are really pushing each other, pulling each other, basically wanted to be there first. And I have a personal experience too. One time in India, that there was a huge line and people really tried to push each other to get there first. And so I avoided the line and tried to shortcut. I straight walked to the main gate and pretending that I'm a special person, so I don't have to go through the line. And then when I got at the line, they hold me, they catch me, and they push me back right to the end of the line. And I had to walk through that huge line of people who I just cut. And it was a very embarrassing, and because it's so embarrassing, I felt so bad out of guilt, and that's Jesus, what happened? What did I do? And so I experienced, not only the frustration and all that, also a lot of other embarrassment. And when I reflect on that situation, that I caused this to myself because I was, really influenced by the self-cherishing thought. I wasn't taking care of other people's need. I was just, pursuing after my own interests, regardless of others. And as a result, I had the immediate kind of, or the instant karma. It straight put me back. This is a real experience. And so this also is, like the direct the fruition of the karma or the instant karma. I did the karma and it immediately followed the result.
심지 잘라면 배샴바 가시 비야 컴페탄타와 뒤 쳐주 수수선을 내가 용 거래서 그때 다시 자탄바 용 거래서 다때 tanto데 아니 심지 젠데 까리 쳔보 햄바 소소나 제 대완도 바 동아모도 바 친소 텐디 콜로 섬로 땅 마토다 코로 야보 말에 코로 메와 소거스나 다른 것도 제 도마로 왔어 어떤 일이 있어.
So basically this is it. If we cultivate really strong compassion and loving kindness to other sentient beings, what really happens is we are able to generate, peace of mind. We, the one who really get the best out of that deal. We can really generate true happiness in our mind through cultivating compassion and loving kindness toward other sentient beings. And this is 100%, guaranteed. And then we do that through really thinking how kind the sentient beings are to us. We really kind of initially set the mind saying that all the sentient beings are really kind to us. We really start thinking how, the lucky we have been through receiving so much support from other sentient beings. And if we develop this kind of a mind stream, we will be able to generate compassion and loving kindness towards other sentient beings. When we do that, then we generate genuine peace of mind. And other words, like if you try to deal with anger, like with kind of a very short-sighted approach, and you will fail. If you just try to stop getting angry or use certain treatment or something, that wouldn't work. But if you really sincerely cultivate compassion and loving kindness aimed at sentient beings, through that we can really overcome our anger and prevent us falling into the angry situation.
그래서 공로도 나자당 차도세는 대갑대 장에데 샴바도 니제 샹집sem도 그래서 간데지 바나 로까지나 그런 게 갑대 장에 야 치워나 그런 마 춘도 같은 지대 준이래서 모두 변나 감바디나라 담보 잠보도 왔어 잠보데 갑대 장에 차워로 와 너도 살로다나 그 잠보데 칼에 라주고 마 잔도도 와 어때 지야 가로 공부에 좋은 사람라 디 그런 게 갑자기 마 춘도 같은 군지 대 준이로 왔어 어떤 데로 오지네 다 나오래서
Well, if we look at the antidote of anger, the arrogance, or the jealousy, and so on, and their direct antidote are compassion, loving kindness, and the practice of bodhicitta. These are the direct opposite force of the negative afflictions, such as anger. And so what we meant by antidotes or the opposing forces is when something is arising, say anger, and if we practice another kind of set of the mind stream, if that subdues that anger, then that's antidote. In this case, for anger, the direct antidote is really loving kindness. The So for the anger, the antidote is compassion and loving kindness. Because when we have more kind of compassion and loving kindness, then it definitely we have lesser anger and so on.
Amala Pugene Tadawanga to den Lochina, Amadijala Pugula Mipe Control. Marazo the Machimbo Party Kono Sagmendua. Kana Amadjala Pugla Mibe Shamba the Ni Shuchembo the Ticket, Koya Parcho Marvas.
If we look at the relationship between a mother and a child, and the mother definitely has a less frustration or anger at a child than say to other people. Why? Because she has more compassion and loving kindness, or feelings of compassion and loving kindness toward that child. And so because you can see the opposing the relationship, the more compassion we have, the lesser anger we have.
Okay? Okay, like that. Then some questions. You can ask any questions. If I know, I'll try to answer. If I don't know, I'll just say sorry. Yes.
What if you have a grudge against somebody? Like I dated this man many years ago, and he stole $600 from me, and I still, hold a grudge because I feel like, like he got the better of me. And I know that, I should think upon him with loving kindness, but it's just hard to. For me to let go of my anger about that.
Kunzin the maps the Tashi Karriers. The Chashavina, Yama Mijig, Brandon, and Rola Tuke, Kumikas. That the Indus Amatu Doji call a Kunzin des Hadedos. Kosam called or the meeting Alcohol, so Mikumala Ludi chairs on some of the somebody would. That the Isundem some who just done.
다로 탱고네 영어스터는 용도 왔어. 다 텔레 야슈노 가르스나. 다 단다창한테 공감자 루당서요 말했어. 단달라이나. 두제 단다 루당서요 말들어 와. 다 텔레 야슈노 또 가르스나 지. 코랑이 꾸마져야 되지. 코로나 깡내진 체네 꾸마져로 왔어. 코로나지 예 체는 많이 봐지. 코로나 이제 깡내진 체지. 깡게도 새가 탑시제도 코로나 때 꾸마이 봐지. 테네도 지금 섬도 당와이나 그렇지 니지지 그걸 깡에 여와 갖고 니제 섬만도시 당가서 꼬마제하던 무슨 초간 작으면 왔어. 초가대다 두두 단계로 봤어. 근데 꼬마제하대 단 이제 콜라 강연 쳐가지 답시 전반 매왔지. 다 간제 야수다 콜라 다 코랑 미시 몸바 마리베 온기 아니 저 간제 강연들의 사회에 답시는 간제 꼬마제와래 스타코 니제로시 등록이 삼아 아니 니테네 다 저런 게 고무투제대 다 루타야 식 답시로 되어서 다 다나로 다나 줄아야 돼 말이야. 당가서 딜로 땅 토게 말았을 때.
I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, how we overcome our grudge to other people. I had experience of someone who basically stole $600 from me. I still, sometimes hold a grudge at that person, thinking that he got the best out of me. Is that correct? So the Geshe-la's answer to that is, yes, you're holding the grudge at him because you still have a strong attachment at the $600. And that may be one of the reasons. That if you find a way to let go of that $600, maybe you can also reduce the grudge. Then in terms of actually the grudge itself, how do you want to deal with that? There are ways you can think to really help you overcome this kind of a feeling. That is, the person stole or the person kind of cheated you because he had a need, because he maybe fall into a trap, or he had he's in a situation really need of others' help or intervention, or he's in a kind of miserable situation. Because someone who's in a perfect and a great situation wouldn't go into this kind of a down behavior. Someone who really had to do that, despite of all the consequences, it's because they are conditioned by something that we are not aware. Maybe it's something behind that. There's much more problem. The person really need help, or the person really need help. And so, if you think of all these reasons and the possible scenarios, then your grudge at the person could be transformed into compassion. If you think that that person really need help, maybe the person is in a deep trouble. Because this is a sign that when someone tries to steal something from you, especially if you know the person, and it's a huge consequences and burden to steal something from your friend, but still they have to do that. It's something must have forced the person to do that, and that force is not something minor. He's totally helpless, or he's really in deep trouble. And if you really go through this kind of analysis, it may help you to overcome that grudge, and then instead you can start building compassion, saying, oh my God, the person maybe he's really in need of help. Maybe there's a much bigger problem underlying this whole thing. What is it? If you feel that way, then you feel compassion instead of the grudge when you think about the person. As a result, it will be a kind of transformed into a positive thinking. And also you can think of the person didn't know, or the person is not able to make a correct judgment. The person is not able to see the consequences. He's under the heavy influence of some kind of a mistaken view, or some perverted kind of views and so on. If you think like that, this may really overcome your grudge at the person. Instead, if you constantly contemplate on this kind of scenarios, it may help you to generate compassion at that person. And then the second point is coming back to the very first comment I made, is that you also try to find a way to let go of that $600. That may also be helpful,
아니 니 때문에 지난 게 다들 뭐라 짐바 당하고 급신해서 봐. 코로나 강을 줘봤다. 코로나 짐바라 이 코로나 팬도 영화 쇼트리 좀 따듬나. 야 지난 게 음악 짐바데 바슈 총도 그래서 저런 게 되는 땅도 있나? 신발을 쓰면 땅도 있나?
Then the second major approach you can do is really think of that $600 as an act of generosity. When you practice generosity, if you include that, saying, use that as a way for you to practice generosity, then you're getting something good out of that. So you're the one who's receiving the benefit out of it.
그래서 되게 꿈마대 꾸에 걸어야 저날라 내와 지고선 빠지고 그거 말에 코로나 강인다고 마도. 근데지는 삼로다 전체 삼로다 나가서 매와 소 답이지 아마도 갑툭고 나도 메세원이 세요 말스.
So when he let himself into this situation to steal money from you, maybe I think it's more reasonable to say that he didn't intend to harm you, but he was in such a condition that he had to do this kind of thing to really cover up his situation, or to really try to, the word is he's maybe stuck in really much deeper trouble. And then he tried to cope with this kind of situation by thinking if he steal this money and solve the problem. So again, we go back to thinking that he's in that condition, and where you really need compassion.
다다 뒤걸어야 상이 나니게 가서 슌슌하나 맞대 뭐 용거를 봤어.
And for this kind of topics and practices, there will be a lot of reasonings taught by Shantideva. So in tomorrow's teaching, we will go through much detail. How do we really deal with this kind of situation?
Okay. Yes. Who's first? Yeah.
Is it possible to help someone else who's feeling anger? Like if you see someone who, like you can see they're harming themselves by their anger. Is it possible? And let's say they're angry at you. And they may be right, they may be wrong, but their anger is definitely harming them. Is there any way to help someone to deal with their own anger? Or not deal with, is there any way to help someone else see how their anger is hurting them?
그래서
the 미션버지
콘도스.
룽시 콘도시우사 저 소소리아 너비게 콘도디기다 소소리아 직단 여 몽게르와 디인데 대야 안저 로봇이야 탑시죠. 타바도 콘도도 랑사비네레 미션버스 사비네레 그 두두 안저 다 미딜레 로봇이야 탑시요.
탑시 망보였어 봐. 빼차샤와나 다 미마치 지금 그 선바되고 명이지 바이나 소소소 코마시라 코노시라 사고 말어 와서 코노 사다도 그 시험하기 사야 되기로 왔어. 다양 지금 선바되고 가지가지 소소 코노상에 여러 왔어. 대갑라야 피엘라 코노선에 양 소소 두번 당기지도 왔어. 대갑라 코노 사사가 여지로 팅원에 딱 콜라야 지 잡보지야. 로 콜파 코노 마대와 돼. 고탑이야 주제래서. 공소 사사지로 와. 되게 상해라 파 갑되잖아. 그 코노 dun으로 와. 대 당가도 민다고 코노 사바나 되지 그래서. 에너지 양들의 사대버지나 양치 되면 배나 코 코노 배나 저랑 코노 갈서 왔지. 당가 저랑 늘 매웠지. 다 제네퍼도 요네 지 저랑 랍잔도 보자. 양 두진이 파 샘소다네 양 제 요래서. 드네도 탑시나 다 카두 코노 사체베 깔랑가서 코노 매야세데 시당 깔레카고 히라 요래서.
So I think everyone heard the question, right? Because I'm at the end and I heard. Oh, repeat it? Sure. So basically, the question was, can we help at others who are very angry and burning themselves with anger? Is there something we can do about it? Geshe-la's answer is yes. There are approaches, many approaches to really help others to overcome, deal with their anger, especially when the anger is, very vivid and in present moment. First of all, it depends on the situation. If an individual is angry at you and they're burning themselves with anger, What you can do is to really not react to the anger to start with, but instead really maybe try to calm down the person, by maybe apologizing or by being really soothed, by being, like soothing and so on. You create, a kind of a behavior, and that wouldn't really trigger anger, but it would really help to soothe them down. If you can do certain things, really calm them down, this may really help. For example, one of the better approach is not really react, not respond to the anger. That really, helps the person to either stop the angry or to really reduce the angry. So by not reacting to it is one way of you helping. And then if the person is angry at another person and he's really still tormented by this anger, and then if the anger is not geared at you but geared at somebody else, and when you see the person's in that condition, you can comfort the person maybe by listening to the person or to really showing alternative views. And through that, you can also help. And so there are things you can do.
Like example, someone did mistake, then they say, you have to say sorry for me. Something like that, right? He have to say sorry more. He didn't sorry, then people get angry, right? How come that? But the mission but the chick not to china, Kongala Konta Lagamadus, Kurosadi was. That the Kurosas, Suzumania, Konta Laptoga Marata, Kongajadi. Te Malachi, the Gonda Lapshavana, Pacho Kontuma, Jamdo was. Can't tell him under channel.
And for example, one of the main reasons that people are mad at us is that they're demanding apologize, saying, I want you to say sorry to me. And because of our ego, we say no. And then that really triggers anger, and it's built up the frustration in other persons. And if you really wanted to help the other person, not to get angry and not to really burn themselves with anger, you apologize. What's wrong? Just say, I'm sorry. So that your aim here is really to reduce the anger or to really help the person to soothe. Then I forgot something Geshe mentioned in the first comment. He's saying that if you wanted to help someone when they're really, really tormented with anger, is to generate compassion in your mind first. You really generate compassion in your mind toward that person. And then follow that compassion through either now saying I'm sorry or soothing the person. And that may be help.
Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
I just piggyback
Okay.
for that
Sure.
question. And that is, and I'll use a geopolitical instead of personal. It happens in interpersonal relationships. Sometimes people use anger and they whip it up to justify harming. And I just, I was trying to, because I don't want to reveal my own stuff, I thought of George Bush, Saddam Hussein. I think most sophisticated people will look at that and see this was a question of oil. This was not, that America just wanted to get rid of an evil guy. The evil guy happened to have oil. So it was this anger was whipped up about this evil dictator so that we could then justify an act of aggression. And this happens, like I said, interpersonally. I'm just using a political thing, but people can delude themselves and really work anger, which will then give them the cover to harm. And that's something that I don't know what you just said about disarming someone through compassion. This seems a little different. I'm wondering if I'm right or wrong on how to handle that.
Saddam Hussein do this. And my give this. You know, one is in a call noon, square for noon. Dinner the Mikashega Hares that nearly Gumze Yambuchi, and dig Gumze Massive, Panama quantity which are large, social super near quantum of Budia, large house on any Shine Yongshire in Burma. The Induzan by Yanji Tangi Gishila Sumna, that is a magic round of quantity side, and they are charming this quantity, the Mashida, Tapsi, Pejutan, Jiguna manners, Picha Shavina. The magic Munachim Maya go never to Guyo. That is where the Macquarie Malpium and Bush to quantity lunch in it, and not all the young. You go condol iron to not condol a woman from the
Simchkores.
which are the bushy. Saddam was a noon to go. And of course, we got all condol. The Mitama, the condol, and my you do. In a condol iron, they give them Buddhist. I said, Sabujo, Kaya got to have competentism to come million.
Titanala Titadares, and a younger thrower. Mikachela ya Shambuchin in Yangi. Kachela Shambuchin the mining the year. Ya te Manimikala, Susum in the Kondo Masawachi.
Getting mid-diggy, round condol, ya Kaya,
I never was Janguena.
So the caress and the Pishas and the bushy Saddam Hussein, yeah. I read it. Every man does the quantity. What do man so miss some conserva, some domestic. Then a poor is no more to water. The condol line the caress and when it's in a condol and reading at it. Condol line,
London Chine.
oh, that dig the native music also cherry. Then you chant for you to my community and that job. Let us take it.
Tatita or China Kugi, me the current do. Me the money Susan and not to change the chamber do. And the Kungo control cycle the carriage, tell you touch it and that Susan when the control Masavachini, Colorado Towers. Because Suzu had control sound of Suzu with Chide Lord was. Suzu payment to Suzu control Masavachi, Captain Paja, Rateta. They chose. I am not to Karchana Chechu the Lagoman was. And then the Tamil song does. Control Masavachi, Pai, Captana, Captain Yabujato race. They mother done in Yedado Tawanaya. Control Masavachi and Zondo, she doesn't do with Pogo the Tata Pores. Control sound to Kanju Majujan and the Pogo the Pomos on the Then is a Suzu Kone control Masava, Suzu sent too much of a chi, and the Kolaya Ratekari down. Did Jewels.
So basically the question was how do we deal with any kind of certain situations or scenarios where someone is using the anger, someone try to really justify for the anger with certain underlying causes or intentions, right? And so Geshe said, yes, this is a very good comment, and for that it's extremely important for us, even more important that we don't get angry at them. When people are really justifying anger or for presenting anger and then behind that with certain goals, you really have to have a very clear mind, right? You really first of all figure out why that person is really angry. Is this just the anger or there's something else behind the anger? And to really figure out the situation, you really have to have a very clear mind. And if you get angry at them, then you fall into their trap. Because when you get angry, you lose control. You do not really use your judgment and wisdom. As a result, you will most likely harm yourself and harm others. And when you fell under the influence of anger, you're basically giving them the upper hand. And do you remember that His Holiness often use and make this comment that a wiser person, and if they really wanted to respond meaningfully, if you really wanted to respond to a situation meaningfully, then you should really overcome anger first. And you should really control your anger and be fully in charge, and then do the response. In that way, you will be much effective in getting back at these people. He joked sometimes, said, if somebody hits you and you wanted to even hit them much more effectively and give them a real peace of mind, what you have to do is you really have to be totally peaceful, calm, prepared, and then give you a shot. And you have a chance of doing much better. On the other hand, if you do kind of react emotionally, your response is very dangerous. Why? It could even bring more harm to you. You never know where this response is going to as well. And so because of that, in these kind of scenarios, it's even more important not to get angry, but really be totally alert, be calm, and think through what is going on here. And this may be even more helpful to you.
But now, Kondolo Savanangado Kane Kesha Dugatalab, Shuma, Kondomas Ardanga Passa Teslavia Mes, Method of Tana, Kondosa, Kajumi Dasho, Lapshodova, Tanga Tritania, Susan Jovachang to us. Kondo Masana, Pachoa Lab Goyachi. So that Mache.
This is very, common thing. When you are angry, when you are frustrated, and if you kind of react in that mood, you tend to really create a situation where you regret later. Let's say if someone really triggers your anger, and if you respond in angry, you'll say things you didn't mean, and then you regret later. In West, you reply with your text message when you're angry, and you type, your message, and you say a lot of things you didn't mean, and then later you really feel regret, doing that. So that's why it's important to control the anger when you respond. In whatever circumstances, you really have to control the anger first in order to make a meaningful response. This Geshe was saying, without the anger, you should be able to convey your message. That wouldn't trigger others to get angry, but at least you can meaningfully say what you wanted to do without really blasting them with the negative words and so on. And through that, you wouldn't regret what you say. Also, you will be satisfied that you are able to say what you wanted to say. But then somebody else asked a question, right?
Yes.
How do you overcome anger at yourself? If you, for example, made a mistake or you did something wrong, and you start to feel anger at yourself, and sometimes you start to get so angry that you start to hate yourself. How do you overcome this kind of anger?
소소소야 점점 광도 시부서 봐. 또 아주 근데 전에 랑랑 폰도사야 랑랑야 배도 지게 이단체 버는데 점점도 소소 논주 신주쇼 그러니까 소소소시 저 광도사 이무 근데 이걸 봐 이단체야 이걸 봐 근데 맵서야 다시 가려.
I don't know. That's a good question. That tell ya that sosu teri nongcho chair wa. Nganzo samsam nganzo la ya chi semma shu shumro chair was. Samsam nganzo ya chi ya chi ngaja shu chair ndo was. Kamni ndo was. Semma shum kabla ya. Sosu le mag semji mit so tan da tell da nga 노도 캠 노스는 소소야 생주 빠고 그래서 야야 저도 싶어지는 야 소소 강을 해야 된다. 코드는 가 캠도 야한테 맞자야 대답시 그래서. 근데 다 콘도스는 소소 제가 걸어야 다 콘도산에 지고 노도 전에 제사로 와. 다 마음 단대네 소소 참 중만에 지인들의 지금 무슨 소소라 지금 지가부터 지 예발 방고시네로 와. 너도요. 니발니만 통로 신질라만 돈 그래서 소소 진노를 논트리 방고시 받지 근데 슈마데 된데 맞아 답시제 다 약신으로 해서로 왔어 너도 나추나라 여러 왔어 근데 결혼을 다 지난 게 니바만 니마 하고 지야 다 슈마 지금 계속 여러서
이게 소소를 콘도시 사대요나 다 가지 님 가져야 콘도 사대요 다 변만 팀 당 같은 배도 쉬고 지금 다 사게임
사게임이다 다 티컵라 야트네 사고라 야 티코지나 삼삼로 지오잡 야마나 직탄 탑이 남으라 보면 제라 야나 지 간제 직 가르치 소수지 농소지나 섬들만 대할 이유샤지 니마 가지 될진 다보 맞아 셰바로 지 아주 저렇게 거라지 안로나 지 계셔시고나 폰게 트렌다고 지 티코지는 말아 앞에서 매와지는 고 맞충로라 됐지 그 티코 짠장 섬다 되나 그 둥둥으로 왔어. 다 다 대깔에 가오래 다 대대 소수 다 소수 제와도 소수 쌈지도 제와 말아봐요. 다 이제 땅감 다 이제 간지 말이 받아 야보면 되었어. 다 말이 미시고 온 건데 자와래서. 단어도 다 말이 봐서 돼 야보면 되었을 때. 근데 뜻이 간지 대두자만 무슨 맞아. 그치 뭐시라고 봤어. 다 이제 거기가 소수 이제 거기가 다 간지 대저 소수 쌈순이 시제도 제와 말아봐. 소수 미시고 온 제와 말아봐.
So the question is, how do you deal with the anger at yourself? Sometimes you made a mistake and then you get really angry, and you go through pains. And how do you deal with this? So Geshe-la's response is, generally speaking, we become so unhappy with ourselves, with the true things. Sometimes we become so depressed, we become so helplessness at ourselves, and we get very angry for that. Sometimes we become so arrogant, saying, I can do better than that. I'm much better than you, and where you didn't. Sometimes you have this kind of opposite of, feeling so arrogant, and that you are the best. And when you're this kind of mood, you also sometimes are angry because you didn't, when you have this kind of mindset saying, I'm the best, and then you make a mistake, and then you get very angry at yourself because you put so much expectation on yourself. And so this is, like a true spectrum, the true extreme spectrum of mood, which makes you angry at yourself, basically. And so to start with, it's very important to really balance your mind. And when you feel so hopelessness, because you sometimes get angry because you're hopeless, right? You say, I'm so hopeless. And that's where you get angry. And when you think about that, then you think other people who are in a much lesser condition than yourself. When you sometimes feel helplessness or hopelessness at yourself, then you start thinking about other sentient beings, saying, how about these? Compared to them, I had education, a much better position. You can, by comparing people and sentient beings, animals, that are much kind of lesser fortunate than yourself, this will, really encourage you to cultivate inspiration. On the other hand, because you constantly feel so arrogant, feeling that you are the best, and then it comes with also frustration sometimes when you make mistakes, because you put yourself in a high expectation, right? Say, I'm the best, and when you make a mistake, you feel angry at you. When you do that, then you also think about people who are much more kind of powerful, people who are much more able than yourself. Then compared to them, I'm nothing. They can do much amazing things. I still need to go miles to get there. And if you start thinking that, this will help you to come down a little bit with your arrogancy. And then another approach is instead of getting angry, when you make a mistake and feeling angry and regret and so on, you can start taking this as a lesson. You get angry at something because you made a mistake, and then you're not happy about it. And instead of getting this unhappiness, being pushed, you immediately saying, I'm going to take this as a lesson. And, saying, because, of my ignorance, I careless, I made this mistake, and I use this as a lesson for my future improvement. I make sure I take a note of this, and so that in the future I wouldn't make a similar mistake. By doing that, you created a kind of a positive, result out of this misfortune. And in Buddhist, even some of the confession sutras, the novice or the bhikkhus, when they attend for confession gathering, sometimes in the sutra saying, you made this mistake, now it's finished, do not do it again. We have this kind of similar. You can employ the similar thing at yourself, saying, okay, you made a mistake, but it's not a big deal. Just take a note and don't do it in the future. Just very kind of soothingly, very gently, you can help yourself to overcome the unhappiness. And then when the frustrations at yourself, the anger in yourself is really too strong, when it's really kind of in its kind of peak time, then it's not so good idea to do meditation, try to forcefully deal with it. You give yourself time. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to deal with this after a couple of days, and try to change the experience. Maybe you do something else. You replace that thought with something else, something that you like usually gives you inspiration and fun. And as you really give time, that kind of anger also loses its kind of peak and start becoming a plateau, and it gradually stops, gradually reduces. And then you can use the some of the advices that I mentioned earlier. And generally, you can also start thinking, I made all these mistakes because I didn't know, and because of my ignorance. And through that, you really also can cultivate some kind of a compassion at your, be a compassion, give compassion to yourself, saying, gee, I didn't know that this is, is going to happen. I didn't know it. Because I didn't know, I should also feel sorry for myself that I didn't know a lot of things. And then give yourself a note saying, maybe I should learn more, maybe I should become more wise, maybe I should become more experienced. And through this kind of a gentle path, you can, be gentle to yourself, and at the same time, use the situation as a lesson for future improvement. And if you do that, it will be quite constructive. But if you get angry and live in anger constantly, it will be self-destructive. And there's no use to get angry at yourself. There's nothing good come out of getting angry.
그러나 수수 농촌 것은 봐도 빼야 버려들어. 간도 미감에 수수 농촌 수진 것은 뭐야 말이야. 걔네가 말아. 대야 보시라래. 아니 따때 시야가 답시대 가지 섬는다 뭐라까지 된디 갑라야 뒤 거쳐냐 섬다나 그 누가 누구로 봤어. 양 섬도 지옥적 되게 그래서 가지 제가 간지 수수 것은 봐도 그 랍자치를 하게 그랬어. 마음 바라 때 개개 놓지 자는 그랬어.
To start with, you're getting angry at yourself because you recognized something. You recognized your shortness, right? Your mistakes. And that itself is a huge step in progress. A lot of us, are not able to recognize that mistake. We totally, we make mistake, we didn't recognize it, we continue to make the same mistake. But for you, when you are angry at yourself because you recognize you made a mistake, and that is a huge progress to start with. So you should feel joy that you're able to recognize immediately something went wrong there. And that itself is something is good. And so in order to really deal with the pain of this anger, you should change your thought, change your experience, maybe replacing that anger with something else. Initially it's useful, as I mentioned, taking this as a lesson, saying, well, I learned my lesson, I'm not going to do it again. And take this as a teacher, saying, oh, this taught me a lesson, so this mistake is a good teacher. And if you think really creatively with this kind of approach, then it has a better positive effect on you.
Yeah, this is very great. If we do a mistake or we agree, it is very good. Usually we don't recognize, also we don't want to recognize, also we don't accept we did mistake. Therefore, if someone did mistake, they identify our mistake. It's a very great lesson also. It's very good. It's not what I do. Not so compromise. When the commission was very chick, don't chickena, and this Sani Temajo, so the Tamjasha. A Tirinijana Sani Jimisham Tamjashana, Kokale, Kalanyolo, Pepento.
And in fact, this recognition that you observed is a very powerful habit, and it's a wonderful habit. When you recognize this, mistake you made, and then it comes with your determination not to do it again. And this habit really helps you to reduce the number of the mistakes you would make in the future.
And then,
If you make one mistake today, or if you make two mistakes, or you make a mistake twice, but the day you recognize this as a mistake, it will consequently, be reduced in the latter part of your life. So if you think it positively, sometimes, there's a good thing that you often find yourself recognizing your mistake.
난 간소 gelula, 배 gelula, 춤이 정합주의로 마 시간이. 대 미스테이크 직전에 산지고 다 대대도 되게 좋은 말다. 이 진도 대대 두진에 막 사줘로 왔어. 두진은 소소 농촌 바하거나 다 된도 되면 치는데 배 멤버 레슨야 보. 솔라줘야 볼랭기로 왔어.
For the vehicles, we have to observe over 250 vows. And these 250 vows start with number one, you take a lesson saying, I'm not going to do that. You make the second mistake, I'm not going to do that. And through these accumulations of the awareness, you are able to observe these vows, and as a result, you do not fall into these, traps. And so it starts with recognizing the problem. And so recognizing the problem has such a positive effect on you for future growth.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night. And I hope you get a little bit some idea. But think about more, is more important. Then more study. More, education is very important. Our ignorance or delusions get up. If we just put a Buddha, it doesn't go away. The study, understand reality is most important. Okay? Thank you. Have a good night.